What's up, founders and investors? Welcome back to Next Round Ready. I'm your host, Chris. Today we have special guest, Chris Gonzales. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, boss, happy Monday. And as always, thanks for having me. And I know when we have, Chris times two, this is going to be intellectual property and value add only.
Right? I like to have conversations with the people who are in the startup world who hold a different perspective. Not just the same old regurgitated talking points over and over again. So I'm excited, man. Let's start off with I call it just straight up the credibility piece, like why people should listen to you. Like, what's been your experience in this startup world?
Well, I'll just be upfront. Kind of went against the grain off the whole not go to Stanford thing. So I'm from a town that I can guarantee most of your audience has never heard of, and that's Stowe Hill, Maryland. That's where I grew up at. Yeah, I was a farmer growing up, went to school in West Virginia, joined the Army for 6 years afterwards. Then I went directly into startups based off of pure ignorance. I've rejected a pretty large paying Microsoft job as SWE to go work at a B2B marketplace startup just because the CEO was my friend. And not knowing that I wasn't going to get paid that much, or this thing called equity first and salary later. Then I sent a pretty badly worded email to 76 Capital. They kind of felt bad for me. And then, scouted a few good startups, been in venture capital from the institutional side for a majority of my career. 76 Capital, 3X Capital, which I worked on Web3 before RWAs got cool like it is today. Musa Capital, the founder of LinkedIn's Impact Fund, spent a year merchant banking. Now I'm the principal at Pro Partners Capital, a family of funds, which the VC is obviously part of that. It's backed by Patrick Mahomes, Jessica Alba, and all these other cool people. And I am the sports advisor for the TIG Holding Group, which is the Sheikh of Bahrain's holding company, which has a lot of startups, sports teams, things like that. But I think the allure with venture capital, people think you have to have rich parents, you've got to be a Nepo baby or go to Stanford. But there's one thing that the military taught me, right? If you just make a roadmap and you hit all the incremental marks, then you'll get to where you need to be. I wanted to be an investment associate, so someone told me to go scout a good startup. Painfully did that. Gave it to a partner, and there I was. And once you get in the industry, if you just perform, you can go next thesis to next thesis to next position to next position. As long as you have the fundamentals. And I am an angel investor in a few companies as well. So I feel like I put in a lot of sweat equity versus any diploma that I have.
That's so much better than the typical diploma route, because I think the people who do take that route, they're kind of a bit lazier sometimes, and they rest on their laurels a little, like their focus is, well, I have this degree and I have this school behind me, so everything is going to be easy. It gives them a false sense of security, is something that I've noticed.
Yeah, and I just want to say, right, no matter what technology shifts, obviously we're in the age of AI, right? But AI with all the integrations, I'm a huge Claude guy. I've got my own, little AI agents built within the OS that you can host it on. Hustle is just one of those things that if you don't have it, then your raw talent or network is just going to stop at some point. I'm the son of an immigrant, and whenever I think I'm not working so hard, my father, who's a doctor right now, came to the U.S., had to wait 10 years for asylum, didn't know how to speak English, working at a pizza shop, got into the medical school, struggled. Now he's a doctor with 3 offices and adjunct professor William Patterson. So, hustle goes a long way. AI, there's really no excuse now if you want to try and break into venture capital, especially for the younger people with no experience. I believe AI has allowed people to go explore the curiosity. Now you don't have to go through so many databases. You can hone in on your personal thesis, build conviction, and then show that to partners, investment managers, you name it. So I believe whatever emerging trends we have, right, something that AI or whatever can't do is take the risk for you, take the jump for you. And I think it favors people that were never lazy in the first place.
Right. I think with the AI thing, it's becoming a thing that's, if you already wanted to do something or were good at something, it's only going to make you better and you can move faster. That's what I'm saying. Because I had ideas for products for so long, bro. Like, man, I want to make this, I want to make that. And I never made it because I'm not a developer. I don't know how to code. But now with vibe coding alone, bro, I was able to make a product in a weekend and get my first users on Monday. Like, that's how fast you can go. If you have the idea on Friday, by Monday you can have people paying you for this solution. We live in an unprecedented time. I think about this part a lot. I think we're going to look back in like the next 10, 15, 20 years, and so many people will regret not taking AI seriously or just using it to change their life.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of research out there that says actually the majority of humans on planet Earth that have access to the internet just aren't using AI like still, and I believe the boom was back in 2021. And even like myself, I mean, just as a test bed, my best advice for people with daily tasks to build AI is just find something that annoys you in your day to day and just build around it, right? AI agents to go, take the CSV file from your LinkedIn and use that. But even like in January when I left merchant banking, I had a large lenders list and I just, I made a debt firm in about, I don't know, 10 seconds. And
Mm.
yeah, so just was using that as a test bed and to make money for my other endeavors as well. So the world's at your fingertips with AI. There's no more gatekeeping anymore right now, especially in this day and age.
I would love to get some in-depth insight on the debt firm you just mentioned. I don't think most founders know what that is or how it works. So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So mine's more on like the real estate side because I just wanted to go mess with some things, but there's merit in there's this myth that founders have to treat fundraising as like a level up type of thing. Pre-seed, seed plus, and I feel like they keep adding funding rounds every single year. I have no idea why. Probably because these AI valuations. And the investors are not your customers. If you can just bootstrap that literally means make your money, reinvest it back into your business. Nothing, too flashy. If you can do that without taking consistent subsequent equity rounds, you should do that. And one way to do that is through non-dilutive capital, right? And people kind of overcomplicate that term. I mean, I know I did that when I was working in startups. That's literally, I don't know, loans, grants, fellowships. If you're a defense tech founder, things with the DoD and the VA. If you have the opportunity to not dilute your cap table, you probably should go ahead and take that opportunity because founders, especially AI, is making the whole industry look bad. They're taking pride in over dilution, and that's going to hit them hard during the growth round. And like I said before in the very beginning, the fundamentals don't change regardless of the technology. If you're going to give somebody 8% for $100,000, well, Series A is going to suck for you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I think because the just giving up equity is talked about the most, it's like the first option founders go to. They don't even look for other options or think about that other stuff. And why do you think that is? What do you think that's scaring the founders off from the other debt options, like you mentioned?
I just think there's not enough education around. There seems to be this big theory. Now, keep in mind, it's hard to do at the early stage in some areas, but from what I've seen, at least going from the non-dilutive route, if you want to take it alone, you have to have other underwriting below that, which would involve maybe like an angel or like a lead investor. But you have other options, right? I just don't think people are making the same hype train in advertising for non-dilutive capital. Though, like let's say like a A16Z, which has a media ecosystem, and they control about 15% of the asset class right now. There's no like media blitz over loans and grants and SBIR and SBA because for some reason people just don't make it apparent. They don't make it streamlined or any of that, right? And people really down the friends and family round, but that's where a lot of that stuff could come into play. And there's nothing sexy or honorable of saying, hey, I'm going to, when I get to the end of my life, startup life, that I'm going to end up with 5% of my company and I'm just going to have to be in a 1,000 square foot apartment after all the work that I put in when your exit is for, many multiples above what you put in before.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more education because most founders still don't even know the basics of what the investors want in terms of who they want to invest in. With pitching and a deck and all of that good stuff. But I think there's a lot of education on that. Not enough when it comes to debt. But I think if you told founders, hey, instead of giving up ownership of your company, there's some other things you can do. Here's how. I don't think many founders would be against that.
Yeah, at least any smart ones, at least. But at least from what I'm saying from my point, plus also there's more than one way to skin the cat. Let's just say you're looking for the distribution from an investor, maybe not their investment. Advisory shares, I'd still be careful with that, but I'll say it just a second. Like other things, and there's no like large media body. I feel like there's some large debt firm out there, I have no idea who they are, that the minute that they create a mainstream ecosystem like A16, they're going to have, the KYCs of most startups in America. There's just, I don't know, there's for some reason that community just isn't as invested into telling founders about these options for some reason. I really can't figure out why, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope that changes. I'm working with a firm right now on something like that. It's It's so interesting how this space is changing so fast. What do you think about the content that's happening in the startup world? I'm seeing a lot of content creators that are like popping up, whether they're talking about banking or just covering the different trends, the different legal aspects. Like, I love the content that I'm seeing in the startup space. And a lot of firms are now trying to get active in this. Is that something that you're prioritizing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on TikTok for about, I don't know, 1 or 2 years now. But find a lot of magic in the DM. Same thing, I create content on LinkedIn, and I'm just starting on Instagram for 2 months. That's rough. I can't figure out that algorithm. But like most things,
Right.
we're definitely going to try. Yeah, I think it's a free, so distribution and moat, right? When I say those words, a distribution is how wide you can cast your net and create streams of revenue that come right back to you. The more you can cast it out and the more recurring revenue you can create, it's only going to be so much better. And people do that via content. I mean, I'm a huge ingester of short form, and that's what a lot of founders are doing. And the whole concept of build in public, I think one of the first people to kind of make that popular was Harry Stebbings at 20VC. But now you're seeing
Yeah.
just founders do it, and customers come to them, investors come to them, and honestly, it's a cost-saving measure and really good advertising. I love seeing the emergence of startups even doing their own commercials. I mean, I'm a Super Bowl commercial guy, but startup commercials are giving them a run for their money right now.
I know, right? They're getting so creative. And I like the ones that are, when it comes to the commercials, I like the ones that are more thoughtful and strategic, and they just have like a point to them versus it just being, hey, buy this product or hey, work with us. It's really lazy. The ones that are creative to me stand out a lot more and have more of a lasting impact on me, a lasting impression. I still think about it. One I will say I kind of like the Anthropic one when they kind of took the shot at ChatGPT. That was pretty funny to me personally. I know a lot of people hated it, but I kind of liked it because if you're somebody that's used ChatGPT and you use Claude, it is a world of difference. Just personal experience.
Yeah, it's like night and day, and of course, maybe the non. But then again, they don't have to find it funny because the point of Claude is to make, to make technical side more appealing to the non-technical people. So people also generated, tons and tons of Reddit traffic on how cringy this commercial was. Same thing on Instagram. That's kind of what you want, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're even seeing like, early stage to mid-sized startups hire chief meme officers. Like, come on, this is a great time. I'm consider myself a meme connoisseur as well, so this is good to see. Yeah.
That is crazy that we've gotten to this point now where like you being a meme person, like you being good at memes can get you a great paying job. Like it's kind of crazy to think about because I still remember I remember when the internet was super young, we had dial up and you couldn't be on the phone and internet at the same time. Now you can get paid for making jokes online. Like we live in a crazy time that again, I don't think many people have taken advantage of, but some founders are. I want to get into what you look for in founders. What is something that you prioritize, some of those green flags.
Yeah, so first one, I've worked across a variety of different theses. Blessed to do so. I'll just go over mine now, and then maybe we'll kind of just briefly and then kind of layer it to the theme I'm going to say I think is applicable to any industry, by the way. So at Pro Partner Capital, we have a thesis called Smart Districts, right? It's similar to the Smart Cities, right? But now we're seeing the emergence of the non-Big Five sports teams and leagues and apps and all this other stuff. Things absent of the NFL, NBA, hockey, and the other two. Sorry, I'm a huge Ravens fan. I only watch football. Lamar Jackson, if you're watching, I'll be at the Super Bowl parade next year. So, smart districts. Now, when it comes with these middle market sports leagues, Reggie Bush just actually announced a fund where he's investing in these. I highly suggest you take a look at that material. There's going to be all the infrastructure surrounding it, right? Data centers that are specific to funding these stadiums, health and wellness,
Yes.
logistics, right? And all these other things. These sports tech startups that go inside the certain leagues to go help the athletes, longevity, recovery. Then you have the cybersecurity, like the AI registration and safety of people coming to the stadium, so on and so forth. And I only named a few subsectors within the sector. Now that we've established that, it's like kind of like their own little ecosystem. So going to what I look for in a founder, once again, what I just said was very flashy and very alluring, right? And a lot of people make technologies that are flashy and alluring, but not having a good back end. So number one would be multiple revenue streams, one that's good for the due diligence process, but number two, that kind of de-risk your ability to go subsidize CapEx. So let's say you have I don't know, you have a human performance startup and you have subscriptions and you have a subscription model, you have a hard tech model, and then maybe you have like a I don't know, pay per trainer model, right? Three solid pieces of revenue that you can evaluate on your balance sheet, make adjustments to the good old fundamental equation. R minus C equals P, and then if you're going the investor route, notice I'm putting all that last, right? Build a good
Yeah.
product first. Revenue is one of those metrics that kind of plays into your overall valuation because what a lot of founders, which I think this is good advice for founders, they got to do some graduate work. When you come up to an investor, make sure that you're able to articulate how you can generate returns for their firm because they're thinking about that as well. Your revenue's going into your exit multiple, which they're analyzing on the back end to see if your startup in the power law distribution, which is a bunch of portfolios, if you can be the outsized return. If you're able to articulate that second part, that's money right there. So two things. Multiple revenue streams. Can you articulate your startup being the outsized return for the fund if you're going the investor route? That's timeless. I don't think that'll change even in the year 3000.
That's interesting because one of my questions I ask founders in our fundability assessments is about their business model. Like, how do you make money? What are the ways that you bring profits into the company? That matters so much because if you talk to an investor, they want to know that you can make money, that you're not relying on some crazy system or a convoluted process that's really confusing. Like sometimes I'll talk to founders and they legit cannot tell me how they make money, which is kind of funny when you think about it because like everything else in the business world is okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter as much if you cannot make money. Like you have to be profitable. Like how do we get past that? That should be the first thing you think about. You know, it shouldn't be on the back end.
And people are so worried about, oh, what can I add to my capital expenditures? I'm like, you're not profitable. Your margins suck, but you're already worried about ad spend. The one thing about AI that's sneaky is technical debt, right? People realize that AI costs money. Well, a lot of people don't actually. But that's also going to factor in from the investor standpoint, at least a seasoned one in AI. They're going to look at your forecast and be like, okay, he didn't manage his margins, so he's going to be so far in the hole by the time he gets to Series A. He's not investable because he used too much AI. Or I've seen a few unfortunate cases where people dump a bunch of AI up front and then they can't even finance their MVP. So like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and now it's really no excuse because I talk to some investors and they're like, we want to see a working MVP when you come to us. Like maybe not a ton of, revenue in early stage, but definitely a solid team set up and at least an MVP because now with the AI tools, you can do whatever. And it's not that hard. It doesn't take a long time. I think before I introduce a founder to an investor, I really care about like, what have you actually done on your own so far? Because if you're going to them asking for money, I got to know that you've tried everything possible. Put in that work, put in the effort, got something off the ground. That gives you more credibility in the conversation instantly versus me trying to say, well, they have an idea and kind of a concept. I can't sell you like that. That's hard to sell.
Yeah, and like when it comes to like one, yes, there's absolutely no excuse for not having an MVP in 2026. Good lord. But also just like having your fundamentals. Like I hate bringing this up, but Cluely, I mean, come on, they lied about how much revenue that they made. I'm like, one, this is a case. I mean, it's a good example, right? That's kind of what happened. That kind of proves like influencers aren't always the best operators. But we're gonna go ahead and leave that one there, right? Founders should know their KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, depending on your industry. Obviously, SaaS, it all looks the same. BD/CAC, GMV, all this stuff. But the more you know about these type of things, not just to look good in front of an investor, you can only manage what you can maintain. So once again, these fundamentals haven't changed even since the birthplace of venture capital on Sand Hill Road.
It's not going anywhere. And I just hope founders can adjust, and shift with the changes happening in this VC world. I think that's very important at this stage so that you can continue to get the results you want. Because if you're a founder who hasn't raised capital before, if you never had an exit, it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be an uphill battle. But getting that foundation right before you go and talk to a bunch of investors, it's going to definitely have you prepared. So what are some of the red flags you see in founders? Like once you see this thing, you just run the other way.
Oh, well, the first one's obvious because unfortunately I've been getting a lot of it recently. Not having a deck. Let's start with the 30,000 foot view. I get a like, hey, I just want to get a little bit of your time because I want to talk through this revolutionary concept. No materials. I can't see an overlay of anything, your business model, your team. None of that. Number two, experienced team. And I think AI is thinking that you can turn somebody into an expert, especially if you spend too much time on the toxic app called X, right? So if you're building a healthcare startup and you have zero healthcare experience, I mean, why should I choose you just because you can vibe code a tool when there's somebody that, I don't know, a CEO that both have 20 years each, 40 years combined? Right, that's one of the biggest things that you can de-risk your investment by ensuring you know that you have the subject matter expert. Number two, if they founded other startups before, even if they failed because they learned the lessons. Luckily, like one of my startups that I'm advising in the energy finance sector, I learned from my founders. That's how good they are. This is his sixth company, like fourth exit. He's having no issue getting his Series A, like at light speed right now. It's actually cool watching him operate. Experienced
Wow.
team, right? You can't just really put a napkin on. I mean, keep in mind, you probably could have done that in 2021, but you know the overvaluation period's over. I would also say, right, if you're making projections too far out, I see a lot of 10-year projections. Like that's going to give me a red flag because you don't even know what's going to happen next year. You might want to
Yeah.
tell me instead, right? If you're on the early stage, how are you going to get to profitability, break even? Or if you're a little bit later, right, where you already have a little bit of financial traction, where on your projections are you going to reach profitability? If you can make those realistic expectations, then maybe I'd be more inclined. And then traction, right? That's what you can show me going back to the early stage. I'm doing a huge yo-yo, but it does look a little bit different the closer you get to Series A. Traction's important. Show me that you have, the goods going on. It doesn't always have to be revenue. It can be a wait list with customers that want to use your product, right? Captive market right there because you're trying to fragment the overall market. Also, email listings, letters of intent, and contracts because once those start going, like you've locked in those customers, that's easy. Or if you already have customers, that's even better. And then the last part would be data from your MVP to demonstrate that your product's wanted in the market. Now, unfortunately, some people get MVP data back, and that's not the case, but that's kind of what the point is, and you can pivot. You can actually pivot from there.
Yeah.
That's not a failure. That just means you caught something early. Yeah.
100% agree, man. That's a solid red flag checklist. Man, I think we could go all day on this stuff because it's good to get the real shortcut, just straight insight that a lot of investors don't want to give founders. When I go to events, I get frustrated watching founders chase investors around trying to get answers to these questions because it's like some of them I know that as a founder, if they go to you and say, hey, let me have a couple minutes to ask you these questions, then it's like, oh man, they're going to pitch me, and investors kind of tired of that. But the founders, they have to get this kind of insight, man. They can't get it anywhere else. That's why I started the show.
Yeah, man, and I'll give you a little caveat there. Yeah, there are some people trying to give this out by ripping people off. If you got to put a paywall behind your advice, it's probably not good advice.
Yeah, that's, oh my goodness.
Pay to pitch,
Oh,
$700 for my master course. I know you've heard it just as much as I have.
I actually had somebody reach out to me and ask me to be a part of one of those. A couple of them actually. The price I heard was one was $1,000 for a pitch, and I'm like, you didn't do any research on me. Like you didn't look at who I am. I'm not your target market, bro. Another one was something crazier, like 10 grand. 10 grand to pitch, and then you get to connect with investors and all of that stuff. And I'm like, bro, if you looked at my LinkedIn profile just for 5 seconds, you would see that I'm okay on that department. I'm good. But I can't believe they're probably getting founders with that.
Yeah, they're being
Charging
predatory.
10 grand. Yeah, it's getting ugly out here. But I think this is good. That's the part of the space that's going to continue to change and evolve because they won't be able to get away with that stuff forever, man.
Yeah, everything's democratized now. So like, okay, they saw, because you're pumping out the episodes, so founders are going to run to your thing be instead. Be like, okay, I can go get this IP over there. And that's what the beautiful thing about AI is as well, right? People can get their content creation out a little bit farther because that's sad that people do that they're not trying to give founders advice. They're trying to make a quick buck, and that's sad.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But I want to stop right there. I want to stop. Thank you for being such a great guest. Where can founders reach out to you? Are you an investor that founders can reach out and talk to and pitch? Or are you like, don't bother me, only a warm connection?
No, when it comes to the TikTok and Instagram, magic is in the DMs and LinkedIn too. But I'm mostly on TikTok. I upload about 3 to 4 times a day. Same username on Instagram at Brownie Points. Give me a little bit more love to Instagram, and I'll even connect you to. I'm also one of those people. If I don't have the answer, nor if it's in my thesis, I'll connect you like 20 other people. I feel like this space needs to be a little bit more charitable at the end of the day. So underscore Chris underscore Gonzales on TikTok and Instagram. Just shoot me a note on LinkedIn. Don't just give me like a random note because I don't want to see if it's one of those automated things. But people need to learn how to be open. And if I don't get back to you in a day, I'll get back to you the next day. I mean, I'm sure your DMs are probably full too. So, I feel like
Yeah,
life
it's
favors people that are charitable, and there's no need to be predatory in this industry, or we're no better than the people that pay people to pitch. That's just my opinion.
man, I love it. Thanks again for being such a great guest.
Yeah, and part of my personality, and I believe where I got to where I was today, just for a parting point, and not everybody in my industry is a religious man, but I am. I have the name of my God on my head today, and I just want to tell any founder that's struggling, because I've been there, right? If you feel like that you got disadvantaged early on in life, but you just have to figure it out, that's good, right? Getting those thousands of reps compared to the Stanford and Nepo babies is only going to serve you so much better, because then you can reach under the hood after years of experience and apply the AI, apply the network, apply the skills, and just remember, right? When you feel like you're backed in a corner, things aren't working, and you're pivoting too much, remember that the Lord your God is with you everywhere you go. There's a wonderful quote in James 1:12, steadfast under trial, then you're going to get the crown of life. If it's not hard, then it's not worth it. So keep that in mind when you're starting out with a 90% failure rate in startups, because it's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everyone could do it. But thank you.